Welcome to Red Light, Green Light, the podcast where top leaders in science, tech, pharma, finance, and innovation open up and get real. You are in the right place. You're about to hear personal stories from key moments of their career arcs and how they've struggled and succeeded when it comes to moving audiences from the red light of risk to the green light of go. We've got an exceptional invite-only lineup of leaders who've been in the room and at the table when stakes were high, decisions were hard, and their stories had to land. From the virtual room to the boardroom, they share what worked, what didn't, and how they paved a path to green lights by communicating authentically through strategic stories. I want to thank you for joining me today. Let's jump in. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to another episode of Red Light, Green Light. I am your host, Cindy Skalicky, and today I'm bringing to you a spontaneous guest, and her name is Caroline Mays. Caroline, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Cindy. Great to see you again this morning. It's a pleasure.
Yes, it's so good to see you, and I'm excited for our conversation today. Everybody, Caroline is the Senior Director of Planning and Modal. Is that how you say that? Modal
Yeah,
programs?
model
As
program.
in like modality. So she is in the business literally of planes, trains, and automobiles and all the other things that have to do with transportation. And she is in Texas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She's been in this really niche industry for over 20 years and is currently with the Texas Department of Transportation, right? So I'm excited about the opportunity to share with our listeners how storytelling happens inside of some of your industry hallways and rooms. So that'll be part of our conversation today. But Caroline, you and I met in in the most unique and interesting way I think that I have ever met anybody. So I'm going to let you tell the story from your perspective first.
Yeah, no, again, thank you, Cindy, for having me and really excited for our conversation. And really, yeah, when we met, it was, yeah, I meet a lot of people. I travel a lot, I meet a lot of people. But in this day, I was leaving my office in Austin, downtown Austin, walking on Congress Avenue to my hotel. And from nowhere, this lady stops me.
That's me.
And I thought it was some homeless person. No, like because there's a lot of homeless people on the street. Normally, I just walk and I just pay attention. I don't talk to
Yes.
anybody. And here's this woman stops me and starts talking very fast.
That's great. I love knowing that
Yeah,
because you're
apologize
probably right.
for stopping you. And then she starts talking very fast. She has a book in her hand. And we start walking slowly, kind of while talking, because she was going the same direction as me. And it was Cindy. And she started telling me about the book, The Red Light, Green Light, and really that propelled a conversation, me telling her a little bit of what I did and where I was
Right.
coming from. And then she told me a little bit of where she was coming from and going. I think you were going to go print some stuff or
I was actually, yes, yes.
some
Well, let me
stuff.
before every listener thinks I'm a complete crazy person and just stop people on the street to talk about my book, which I do not do. But here's
Yeah.
the story from the other side of why I stopped Caroline. So I was in Austin working with a team about to do a full day women's conference for the women of HVAC. And the theme of my day with those women was spontaneity in communicating. And I was on the street corner and Caroline was right in front of me. And I looked at what she was wearing because she was wearing bright green, same jacket probably that you have on right now, and a bright green jacket, Kelly green, and like a nice lighter green pair of pants. And I thought, huh, she looks exactly like the cover of my book. Like, she actually had the same 2 greens on that she was wearing, and she just was sharp and well-dressed, and I thought, "Oh, this is a crazy idea for me to stop her and ask who she is," but we walked together for, like, at least a block while I was nervously considering this very bizarre thing that I had never done before. And eventually I did. I stopped you and said, "Excuse me," and you were, like, a little not sure that I was talking, and then we ended up standing there on the street, and I shared with you why I stopped you, which was completely crazy, and you said you were so glad that I did in light of the fact that I was being spontaneous and, just taking a leap, and you said you mentor women a lot of times to do the same style of, boldness. I think that's what I remember you saying to
Yes,
me, Caroline. So
yes.
tell us about some of the people you've mentored and what made you sort of, think of that initially, and then we'll get to the other pieces of our conversation.
Yeah, I work in an industry, transportation infrastructure is male dominated, civil engineering, so it's male dominated. So very few women in those roles and leave alone leadership roles. So I've, grown in the industry and now
Mm,
I'm in executive leadership role and I look
mm,
behind me and really also kind of paying it forward because I've had some women leaders and mentors that have really lifted me
yeah.
throughout my career. So I'm kind of doing the same to lift other women within the industry, but also outside of the industry
Mhm.
in my field. And then also I do a lot of speaking engagements.
Right,
I get a lot of requests,
right.
so you talking here. I just want to, can you mentor me? Whether students, and it's both
Mhm.
male and female students,
Sure, sure.
professionals,
Mhm,
and different folks. So I do spend a lot of time on that, just lifting other women,
mhm.
sharing my story. I get asked different things,
Sure.
from how do I balance career and family and kids
Mhm.
and all
Yep,
these things and speaking
yeah,
engagements. How
yep,
do I do that? I seem to be comfortable speaking with all
yeah,
different audiences and
yeah.
all different topics because of
Mhm.
what my role, entails is
Yeah.
very different topics. So I get asked a lot of that. So I
Mhm,
share a lot with other women.
mhm,
And then, of course, yeah, how do you, as a minority woman, function
mhm.
in an environment, a leadership role that you look around, nobody else looks like you type thing. So
Right.
I get asked all kinds of
Sure.
questions.
Yes, I'm sure
Uh,
you do.
yes, and people actually is the most interesting thing, Cindy, is people watch you. So
Right.
their eyes on you, even people who
Yes.
don't know that really follow you, and they watch you. So everything you do, say, act, people are
Mhm.
watching
Yeah,
silently, and you don't know who you're inspiring. So it's really been gratifying to me to be able to pay forward
I love it.
for not just other
Yeah.
women, but all types of people, men, women, and
Yep.
all those.
Mhm. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And I did end up giving Caroline the copy of the book. We walked for a few more blocks and we decided she gave me her card, which is sitting on my table in the other room, and we got a chance to connect over the phone. And it turns out, yeah, I picked such a great person to give the book to because you do a lot of speaking and you are in high stakes situations and you have a lot of visibility to a lot of areas. And I would love for you to share with our listeners, um, all the parts of the Department of Technology, Transportation that
Yeah.
you like. I was really interested in that piece of our initial conversation around planes, trains, and automobiles, and more. So tell us
Yeah.
what your role is. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. My role is multiple fold. I
Yeah.
see for the statewide, the state of Texas.
Hmm.
As I mentioned, I'm in executive leadership position. So I oversee a group that deals with aviation. So all of the airports, big and small.
Hmm.
Then I have a group that deals with railroads, the passenger rail as well as freight rail moving goods.
Okay.
And I have an overseer group that deals with maritime transportation,
Hmm.
which is all the ports and the ships
Hmm.
and the goods movement, international trade. Then I have another group that deals with public transportation, the buses,
Mhm.
the trains, statewide that move people every day, whether to jobs or to different social and personal activities. And then the last group that I oversee, they're much more in a strategic planning role. They're the
'Kay.
ones that develop plans and assess plans for transportation within the state of Texas. Before a road is built, they're the group that go and study it and kind of determine what needs to be done.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then they're also the group that works on prioritizing different projects.
Yeah.
A lot
Mhm.
of times people don't realize that before you see a cone on the roadway, yellow
Mhm.
construction, that project may have been in the works for the last 10 to 15 years.
Wow.
Yes. So
Wow.
that's
Mm.
kind of what that group does. And they provide that to the engineers. Engineers are responsible for designing the projects and for also overseeing the construction and inspecting
Mhm.
to make sure that the road is being built right, the bridge is being built right. So that's kind
Mhm.
of what I do in a nutshell for the Texas Department of Transportation.
Okay.
I've been for almost 14 years.
Amazing. Wow. That's a great phrase. I just wanna share love that. You did a great sentence starter. Before you see a cone in the roadway, like, okay.
Hey, listeners, super quick station break question for you. Have you ordered your copy of my new best selling book, Red Light, Green Light? Grab your copy today at onpoint-communications.com/book. And now, back to the show.
Now what, right?
Yeah.
That's really true, and personally, right now, right in my neighborhood, we have a huge roadway project happening, and there's a lot of cones in the roadway and a lot of giant machines broadening one of the lanes. And to your point, that's been probably on the books for the city of Fort Collins for years to
Yes.
determine, is the traffic flowing high enough that we need this? Where's the money going to come from? How are we going to do it? How long will it last based on the population growth and all the things? I mean, we had our water had to be shut off for a full day a couple of months ago while they
Yeah.
rerouted water mains or whatever they were fixing and doing.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of the innovation planning part you were talking about as the 5th sort of, bucket,
Yeah.
it seems like.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
what do you love about the work that you do, Caroline? Like, it's so varied, right? But what
Yeah.
what are some of your favorite conversations or places to put your ideas and thinking to work?
Yeah, I think what I love about my job, which I tell people all the time, is the why. Okay.
Mm.
The
'Kay.
why. Every day we all get up and we go to point A from point A to point B and we don't really think about it. And transportation is kind of the equalizer.
Mm.
That we can get up and be able to go to school and be able to drive to work, go to a grocery store, go whatever we want to go without thinking about it because it's
Mm.
the single equalizer that allows people to be able to do those activities, but also allows us to participate in economic activities and
Mm.
quality of life. Where we work,
Yeah.
we got to
Yes.
get there. We go to
Mhm.
school. We want to go to a park. We want to go
Mhm.
here. So
Mhm.
from that's really what I love about what I
Mhm.
do is that it impacts every single person
Yeah.
every single day.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and you think
Yes.
about hospitals, there's medicine, stuff are being flown all over the place.
Yeah.
Somebody gets into a car crash, the ambulance has to get there, and if you're on
Yes.
the road and you don't think about that ahead of
Mhm.
time, some of those life-saving things that
Yeah.
transportation is the only means to
Yeah.
do that.
Ah,
Sidewalks
sure.
in the neighborhood.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
walking safely on the sidewalk so you don't walk on the street, so you don't get hit by a car, those types of things.
Yeah.
So really that the why,
Mhm.
and connecting people to places
I
and
love that. I
activities.
love that.
But then also a part of what I do is the bigger picture of moving goods.
Okay.
Company,
Okay. Love
companies
it.
locating where they locate because they're looking at transportation. Can I get my supplies? If you
Mhm.
know, one of the big companies? How do I get my supplies to my factory? And how do now get my products? I finished making cars. How do
Mhm.
I get it to the consumer? So all
Mhm.
of those are some of the things like the economic fabric of our nation
Yeah.
hinges on the ability to get stuff from point A to point
Mhm.
B
Mhm.
efficiently, safely, but also cost efficiently.
Mhm. That's great. I think you just said a couple of eye-opening categories, like you move people and you move goods, and you
Yes.
use all these 5 kind of, buckets of
Yeah.
transportation, and they're constant, they're always happening, and they are, I don't wanna say taken for granted, but they are the foundation of how we live and work, and it's never ending also, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's constantly need for repair or building, and, if
Yes.
I think about
Always.
some of the greatest stories that are written about in books, and if we go way, way back, I'm
Yes.
thinking back to, like, I was actually, horseback riding in the Estes Park mountain area here a
Yeah.
few years ago, and honestly, my daughter and I were on the horses, and
Mhm.
it appeared that the ruts from the wagon wheels from
Yeah.
the great expansion westward could be viewed for this long stretch, and I thought,
Yeah.
"How many wagons went through
Well,
this field?"
exactly.
Right? Like, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
the story goes back a really long way, and I
Yeah.
marvel constantly when we do a road trip, for example, at the men
Yes.
and women who built our nation so we could
Yes.
travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
there were a lot of pioneers, and I
Right.
talk a lot about that the pioneers were much bolder than we are today.
Oh,
Look at
yes.
the system, look at the highways, they were
Yeah,
much bolder, and what
right.
we're doing now, we're building on it a little bit more piecemeal.
Yeah,
You don't see major transportation infrastructure.
yeah.
Looks like when the Rockefellers and all of those buildings
Yes.
was, you
Right,
know,
right.
so our airports today, you've not heard about any new airports being built. We're
Yeah,
modernizing, expanding what's already there.
yeah,
So the pioneers have really done a great job
yeah,
to
right.
do that, and that's what has made U.S. very successful is the
Mhm.
transmission infrastructure.
I love it. Yeah, you're exactly right, and the cities with the subway systems,
Yes,
and, I grew up in Chicago where we had the
yeah,
elevated train, which is one of the
yes,
hallmarks of the way our city looks and feels and the
yeah.
vibe, and it
Yeah, I grew up
adds.
in Toronto, the same thing with
Mhm.
the subway system and
Yeah.
the transit system. That's how
Yep.
I went to school. I didn't have
Exactly.
a car growing up,
Right.
and we went everywhere by
Mhm.
public transportation.
Mhm.
So it also allows kids in those
Yeah.
cities to be really mobile, but also it takes the
Mhm.
stress of the parents. Like right now
Right.
in the suburbs, my kids
Right.
drive them everywhere because they're not of driving age yet. They're driving age, but they don't drive yet.
Right.
So all of those burdens are taken,
Yeah.
off when you have multiple modes of transportation, like
Yep.
using scooters a lot now.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
Scooters, or we have a daughter in Australia, she rides the tram a
yeah,
lot, and, like,
mhm,
we noticed that on our trip to Europe a couple of years ago. There's
yeah,
trams that kids feel safe, the parents feel a little
yes,
safer on the tram
yes,
than the underground or something like that, right? And
exactly. Yeah.
things of that nature. Well, I wonder if you're a little like, me when it comes to, for me, it's messaging, and for you, it's transportation. Like, you travel all the time, right? You're on airplanes, like, are you constantly going, "Oh, this could be better," or "That looks good, and I'm happy to see this," even though it's not your stage? Like, do you feel like you're like, I'm like that with messaging and stories, like, if I'm hearing things, do you find yourself in those areas when you're traveling?
Oh, yeah, I'm the biggest critic of
Right.
every
For
every
sure.
mode of transportation. I told you I was in Toronto recently, and I was riding the subway. I rode it from the airport all the way to my destination, and I changed. And I went to the older subway system, and I was just looking at them like, wow, this is old.
Oh, yeah.
It's in a bad state of repair, and I'm
Come
just
on, Toronto. Yeah.
yeah, figuring how it's very well used, but I'm like, yeah, no wonder people don't want to come to ride the
Mm,
trains because they're walking here. It
yeah.
doesn't embody safety,
Okay.
cleanliness, and everything else. So yeah, airports the same way. I'm like,
Sure.
"Oh, this is horrible. What was
Yes.
everything?" My folks, I download on them. Like I was
Yes.
in my public transit
Yes. You're
director
like, "Here's
yesterday.
my list of
Yes.
things."
I said,
Yes.
"Dude, you talk about state of good repair. Let me just tell you about my experience."
Yes. Right.
So
That's
constantly
great.
doing that, but I think it helps me because then that way I use that
Yeah.
in developing strategic direction for what the
Yes.
US tax does,
Absolutely.
strategy, policies,
Yeah.
all that. It really helps me because I travel a lot, not just in the US or Texas, but
Mhm.
also abroad. I go
Mhm.
travel a lot all over the world, and it
Okay.
really helps me to bring that to what we do
Yeah. Right.
and
For
take
sure.
it to Texas, but also to the US because I'm also
Mm.
involved in national organizations. So
Yeah.
it really helps me to be able to share that with everybody.
Yeah. Right. Caroline, let's turn towards some of the communicating you do as a, to your stakeholder audiences. You and I have had some rich conversations around this
Yes.
already. Talk to our listeners about strategic storytelling, engaging stakeholders, and getting buy-in for some of the
Yes.
things you do. And what are some of the things you've done that work well? And
Mhm.
when do you feel like people are just hitting that red light of barriers to entry on ideas? Just
Yeah.
give us a splash of what you experience.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest thing for me is one, being transparent about what we're telling people, but also be authentic about it. So people don't feel
Mhm.
like, oh, you're just saying that because you want us to hear that.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
that's always kind of driven what I do, but then personable, relating to the
Yeah.
audience. A
Yep.
lot of times when I go to present, there's kind of two audiences.
Okay.
One, I already know them for the most part.
Okay.
They have a little bit of idea of what I'm going to talk about because they've been involved or they've heard me speak in several places. And
Mhm.
then there's the totally new audience that
Mhm.
never heard me before. They
Yeah.
have no idea
Mhm.
what I do.
Mhm.
So a little bit of different strategies that I use there. But one thing I always do is I always try to start my presentations or during my presentation with a story
Mhm.
that people can relate to. I think I mentioned
Right.
to you I went to talk about public transportation at this meeting recently, and I
Mhm.
started telling them about the limiting factors of, I just asked everybody who lives in the suburbs, how do they drive their kids around? Is there public transportation?
Mhm.
And everybody literally raised their hands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
the challenge of a lack of public transportation in the suburbs where we find ourselves, parents
Mhm.
now would become the Ubers or they use kids
Right.
Uber or
Right.
scooters to get places. And I was telling them that when I grew up in Toronto, Canada, when I was in high school, I used to take the streetcar, the subway to get
Yeah.
to school. And it resonated with everybody really because they wanted me to talk about
Sure.
the vision. So
Okay.
our story helped them understand this is
Mhm.
what the vision should look like, whereby
Mhm.
our kids can be able to take public
Right.
transportation if it's available.
Right.
So
Right.
I use that a lot
Yep. Good. That's good.
to tell those stories. Then one other example I use, I was in Mexico presenting on trade, and one of the questions I was asked was the complexity of border trade and trade with US and Mexico. So I remember one example I used. I said trade, it's like a movie.
Oh.
A lot of actors and script writers and regulators and all of this stuff and then there's a scene, the location, which is the border crossing. And within that, there are people that are deciding where do you cross? How do you cross? Do you meet this? If you don't, then they pull you aside.
Mm.
And it resonated with the
Mm.
audience in a way that I didn't
Good job.
realize it would because
Yeah.
there are people regulating between the US and Mexico. They're writing all these regulations. It's in like a movie. You
Yeah.
can't say this. You can only say that you need to sit here, you need to do this. And you gotta fit within that as an actor. And then there's the producers and all of these folks.
Uh,
So yeah. And,
so wait, can I ask that's beautiful and that's exactly what like my efforts are to help leaders find the first phrase that you just said.
yes.
Trade is like a movie. Trade
Yeah.
is like a That's 5 words.
Practice. Yeah.
5 words.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the work that leaders need to get good at doing so they
Yes.
can translate, because that's the hinge. It opens the door to understanding. So what I wanna know is, where were you? Can you remember where you were when you thought of that thought? Because that's the magic moment, Caroline, where you
Yeah.
like, what were you thinking? Like, how do I get, like, tell me about that moment? Because some people think they can't do it, and they can. So what does, where did you come up with that analogy?
Yeah, I was preparing for the presentation and yeah, I got slide deck, but I'm like, the slide deck is the data, is all of this information, but what would stick? And I was, whenever what would stick, what would they remember? What is
Yeah,
this one thing? It's not the data of how trade has grown, but what would this audience actually, how do I boil it down so it's very
yeah,
basic?
yes,
Yeah, so Traders like a movie with factors and actors was just
yeah,
it, and they followed the entire thing, and it
yeah,
became everybody that spoke after me did that. So yeah, I was in preparing for it, and I
yeah.
think it really done morning before I spoke.
Oh, it was
Morning
right
and tell
beforehand.
you, yeah,
Awesome.
Quick station break, listeners. If your team is ready to level up its strategic storytelling, I would love to meet you and hear your story. Shoot me a connection request at LinkedIn or via email, and we'll set up time to chat. Now, back to the show.
and I was like, what's my opening act? I always think about that. My opening act and my closing act.
Okay.
Things I always think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Because sometimes those moments with the killer analogy come right at the beginning, right the day of, right? And
Yeah,
then you could use that analogy again with a new audience where you've got now a broader thread or
yeah,
ribbon through it. And it's very usable and reusable. And it's very sticky because
yeah,
it's universal. What you did was find a universal theme. Because you
yeah,
have an interesting situation, Caroline, where with transportation, you are like, that's like you punched your ticket for what everybody does all the time. So, we work
yes,
with like biochemists and nanotechnologists, and that's a really hard story to find a universal theme in. Yours
yeah,
is like easy. So you have more stories than you know what to do with, but then to find that strategic story to
yeah,
take people into a higher visionary place, that would feel
yeah,
like the challenge,
yeah. It's
right?
a big challenge.
Right.
And I'll share with you one more example, and then
Yeah.
so speaking to a general audience, I just asked, how anybody ordered Amazon package this week?
Mhm.
When the last 2 days have been delivered, and then the room erupts.
Right.
And I said,
Yeah.
that is transportation at work. That's goods movement. That's package delivery. That's your livelihood. Who has ordered grocery delivery? So
Right.
those things like people can relate to and
That's
something like,
instant.
yeah.
Right. Mhm.
I don't go to the grocery store anymore. I just order
Right.
home
So
to
nice.
it. So then now they start understanding that what they don't think about is really what transportation is about. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's so great. I mean, you do have an instant you have the people's, and the challenge I would imagine is like not making the questions that you're doing like overly vanilla, right? Or like too easy, right? You want to be
yeah.
creative, and so finding the new and the
Yes.
next of things is
Yeah.
fun for the audience to like raise their hands, right? Because
Oh,
polling audiences can be
yeah.
it can be done wrong or
Yeah,
not
it
great.
can be, but in the book, one of the things you talk about that really resonated with me is being your audience. We
Yeah.
was taught know your audience,
Yes.
but you saying be your audience, so that kind of challenged me to start thinking,
Good.
what if I'm sitting on that chair in
Yeah.
front of me and
Yes.
somebody else is speaking while I'm speaking? What would I want to hear, or
Yeah.
how would I want to hear? So
Mm.
that really changed my mindset.
Good.
Being
Great. Yeah. Know your audience versus be your audience. That's one of
yes,
the main themes in the book. And it's like, what would make me feel excited to raise my hand if she's going to take a polling question? That's kind of, it's fun.
yeah,
It's easy. Yeah.
connected with the speaker.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. This is great. Caroline, you are awesome. And I'm so glad I courageously stopped you on the street. And I'm so glad you wore two colors of green that day back in Austin and that it brought our worlds together because I've enjoyed so much the chance to share you today with our audience and to continue our conversations, which we will absolutely do. And I certainly am thinking more about how transportation is impacting my life.
Yeah.
And thank you for all the good work you're doing in Texas with all the roadways, airways, railways, and beyond to keep the economy going. It's a really interesting and pretty cool place of intersection that you get to be.
Yeah, but again, no, thank you because
Yeah.
as I think I told you, everybody's like, oh, when I showed them the book, they're like, you don't need it. You speak well, you're always speaking. And I was telling them there are things in this book that is helping me perfect that.
Mm.
And it's been really interesting. I carry that book with me everywhere. No, it is literally in my laptop bag, and I carry it
I
everywhere
love
because
it.
I'm one of those people we read and reread.
Good.
'Cause then
Good.
this way I can perfect the communication because
Yeah.
that's the biggest challenge. When we don't communicate the right way, we
Mhm.
lose the audience, even the people that
Mhm.
we're trying to help.
Right.
So that's really what I'm trying to do more now, not just
Good.
with my speaking engagements, but also helping my folks and others in
Yeah.
terms of how you can structure that message in a way that resonates with
Yeah.
the people we're targeting.
Yes, right. Because we want that opportunity to advance and be, both informative but also visionary and inspiring. And you're proof that no matter where in your career journey a person is, we always have a next level in our communication skills that we can, because you're a great speaker, invited all over the world to speak. And there were a couple of things in the book that have created new levels for you, and you carry it in your bag everywhere you go. So, I mean, that couldn't be better for somebody like me to know the power that's in it and to see it helping you. It just makes me happy. So, thank you for
Yes.
sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, thank
if
you.
yeah, you're welcome. If
Yeah.
people would like to connect with you, Caroline, what is your preferred way for them to reach out and learn more about your work?
Yeah, definitely they can connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a profile there.
Yeah,
Yeah, Caroline Mays,
great.
but also I'm easy to find. I work for the government.
Yeah, yeah,
Caroline Mays at texas.gov, and we have a website, texas.gov, where all my information is there. So certainly I welcome that. I'm
yeah,
open to all kinds of engagement.
yeah.
So yeah, be
Yeah, if you see
yeah.
her, stop her on the street, she'll give you her
Yes.
time of day. Oh, this was so great. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Caroline. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to another episode of Red Light, Green Light today. We will be back again, as always, next week with another senior leader who's ready to share their storylines. Until then, go grab your copy, stick it in your laptop bag of Red Light, Green Light. Find yourselves an audience of stakeholders you need to move from the red light of risk to the green light of go and get out there and nail it. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.